have such a cool.
Just the public.
I'm sorry?
Just the public.
Yeah, but you take that, you get that Colombian stuff, don't you?
Organic. Oh, like grinds it.
How much money we gonna spend tonight?
And you can get that when you.
Oh, you didn't hear, we're cutting all the spending, 10% across the board.
Oh,
When you
yeah?
go to,
Why not?
7-Eleven, you can get the dark roast.
Only flush 90% of the time.
Hey,
I like a good
my
strong coffee.
my son and family came back from Honolulu today. They went out last Tuesday, you know, waitlisted. They couldn't get back, so you had to buy.
You get the
You
discount.
gotta phone the play back. No, you're not on duty. So you had to buy the tickets.
Oh, jeez.
I gotta ask him if he got any discount. I know what he paid for it, but for 5 people. Oh, man, let me tell you.
I'll tell you, the price of airfare is going way up.
He just go to Honolulu or he goes someplace?
They took the family to Honolulu for Easter vacation. They waitlisted, basically, got out
Oh,
north.
he didn't go to Maui or anything like that?
No, Honolulu. Then he wanted to get back, planes just filled up almost instantaneously, and he bumped him out. So in order to get back, he had to buy tickets.
Oh, well, that's what happens.
The kids were off school this week, so everybody went away. They all had to go back.
And it cost them more to fly one way than if he had paid.
I have no idea what he did.
Yeah, probably
He
so.
probably did, yeah, one way.
And I say, well, now you know how we all, other people, normal people feel.
Us poorins, middle class, we're getting squeezed out.
Well, it's a
Holy
gamble.
crap, the price of beef.
Well, you don't eat beef. Eat,
Beans.
Just look at,
Beans.
yeah, what are you worried about all that stuff?
Gosh,
what do you need beef for? Go to
I like
beans.
making my chili, that's
Go to
why.
beans, that's all.
Go to venison.
Anyway.
Squirrels.
Yeah.
But then, well, I'm going to hunt with Charlie, but let's back a couple of
No,
guys.
listen, I'll bring it to you, stay
Okay,
on.
yeah, okay. You know what, are you afraid of me firing a weapon?
No. I don't like to hear grown men cry when it gets cold. That tree stand isn't comfortable, you know.
Well, you know, the deer's laughing at you.
What is that jerky guy doing up there?
What does he think he's gonna get?
That's all right.
As they nibble the rope and bang, down it goes. Oh, God.
I mean, what, you can do them right here and you running across the roads here.
Yeah, you could get one,
There's as many-
I know what is a vulture down carcass sitting on the side of the road. You can get all the ribs you want.
Depends on whose ribs.
So it was the deer's. It's basically a pork dry.
Yeah. I actually made a venison stew. I made a venison stew once. A friend of mine, who was in special forces, he gave me several pounds of it. And I cooked it the same way.
Oh, I can't spend money yet.
Days of, marinating.
Marinated.
That's a
I
lot of
like
pills.
Artie Burgundy marinated. Breaks the sinews right down. With a little bit of garlic and there and onions. Then it's 2-day cooking. You saute the onions, the peppers, nice tomatoes.
That's nice when you're retired and got all that time.
I was doing that before I retired. I enjoyed that stuff. Except my wife was ready to kill me because I had made a mess out of the kitchen.
All you gotta do, Tommy,
What?
is, all you have to do, my mother-in-law's from Germany, they make sauerbraten. You just leave it in the vinegar with the onions and all the
It
spices.
breaks it right down.
5 days.
Yep.
It's like,
Hardy Burgundy.
It's
Well,
delicious.
vinegar's very
So
good.
turn it over, Andy, flip it every couple days?
she does, but all you need to do then, put it in the slow cooker. You don't need to be playing with it like you do and make a mess. Put it right in the slow cooker,
If you're
Yeah,
taking
did
fun
she
away.
use white vinegar or side vinegar?
white vinegar.
White vinegar.
Break salt, like you said, it breaks
Because
it
we
down.
learned to trip it.
My kids should know was venison.
Clean the chicken with vinegar, and guess what? You don't have the chicken smell, and it breaks it down, it's delicious. Clean it with vinegar, it's wild, it works.
Do you taste the vinegar? I mean, I like vinegar, but I never thought of.
You
eating
clean the chicken with it. Clean the
The
chicken.
chickens Purdue's aren't dirty.
Yeah,
Purdue is a
You
good.
mean the chicken from the backyard is?
I fly over that thing all the time, don't tell me about they're not dirty, I know
Oh,
it's
Oh,
dirty.
come on, they're dirty going in, not coming out.
I don't know, they
I
say
don't
not
like
to wash,
Tyson,
but I
I
have to
don't like
say I
Tyson.
wash my chickens.
Purdue or some others.
Yeah.
Oh, I never
Do you
liked
wash
Tyson,
them?
it's awful.
Yeah.
But actually, I went to Best Market and I got chicken leg quarters that were humongous. And I like chicken leg quarters. What?
No, it wasn't turkey.
No, it was not turkey, it was chicken. And my wife makes an excellent chicken soup with it. And then the chicken meals, and then they get into chicken salad. Oh, man, that is so good. I love this.
Without any foreknotice, just here. Ready?
What?
Oh,
here, you wanna order
Sure.
Black. I had to drink it black instead of
Okay, hey, when you see some notes, let me know, I'm gonna turn it around.
Hit speaker?
I have my
No,
memorized.
it's, no, yeah, he's gonna switch it on.
George is on?
George is on it. There we go. Test, speaker.
Testing 1, 2, can you hear us? Hello?
Hey, Ray, it's Mike Ostrander.
Hey, Mike, Tom Stokes, how you doing?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Doing well, sir. Hold on, let me see, can we take the phone off this right?
Yeah, just get up.
Because that phone, I think, blocks the voice. Okay, can you hear us?
No, he's on,
No, you can hang up.
you need speakerphone.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, good, excellent. I forgot.
We're good to go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Like,
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice requirement provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given and was published in the Asbury Park Press on February 24, 2014, and the Two River Times on February 28, 2014. This notice is posted at the Township of Middletown Sewerage Authority Administration Building, Township of Middletown Municipal Building, and filed with the Township Clerk. Roll call.
Mr. Ostrander?
Here?
Mr. Rogers?
Here.
Mrs. Smith? Here. Mr. Stokes?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mrs. Epson?
Here.
Mrs. Bell? Here.
We're going to engage in the hearing regarding the quarterly service charge rate. Notice of this hearing has been duly notified pursuant to statute by publication in the Asbury Park Press on the 25th of March, 2014, and also in the Two River Times on April 2, 2014. I will be marking those affidavits of publication as TOMSA 1 and TOMSA 2 for the record. Additionally, there is a photocopy of that notice, for proof of that notice, that will be marked as TOMSA 3 for the record. We will now go on the record for this hearing, and I will ask the stenographer to swear in our Executive Director, Raymond Neerstad, our Authority Engineer, John Van Dorp, our Authority Independent Auditor, William Myler, and myself, Richard Salehi Jr., as counsel to the Authority. So, gentlemen, if you would please raise your hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. We're going to begin the hearing with the direct examination of Mr. Van Dorp, the Authority Engineer. Mr. Van Dorp, would you just state your name and spell it, and state your position with the Authority for the record?
John Van Dorp, V-A-N-D-O-R-P-E. I'm the engineer of for the authority, been so for the last 12 years.
Thank You are in fact a professional engineer, and you have vast experience in not just municipal engineering, but specifically wastewater management. And you are in fact the head of the department at Mather Consulting dealing with wastewater management, is that correct?
Wastewater, yes, water and wastewater.
Water and
Design,
wastewater.
correct.
You represent this authority for the past 12 years, and you are in fact an engineer to several other authorities in the surrounding area, is that correct?
I'm the engineer to one other authority and a number of other municipalities that we represent. I'm not the designated engineer in some cases, but I am the head of the department and of the water and wastewater division.
Thank you. You're familiar with the facts and circumstances and status of the collective infrastructure of this particular authority, that being both the collection system and the treatment plant of the Township of Middletown Sewage Authority, is that correct?
Yes.
Drawing your attention to the general time period of the summer and early fall of 2012, you were familiar with the general status of the infrastructure of the authority at that time, is that correct?
Yes.
And at that time, you were aware of certain improvements and in the course of its operation, certain capital improvements that the authority intended to make in the normal business course of its existence, is that correct?
Yes, the authority basically puts together at least a 5-year program for capital projects, and in some cases looks at it further into the future as well.
Okay. Without getting into a lot of detail, can you recollect sitting here tonight what some of those capital projects were at that time?
Well, one of them was a cogeneration project. Another one was Phase 2 improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. Upgrades, consideration of upgrades, routine upgrades to the pump stations. I&I studies and associated repairs or replacement as necessary based upon the findings of those I&I studies. Typically, the authority has done one basin a year, at least one basin a year, to TV it, inspect it, and then remediation as necessary.
Okay. And those improvements at that time were in fact reasonable and necessary to maintain the efficient operation and the ongoing mechanical operation of the authority, were they not?
Correct. Preventive maintenance to avoid emergency situations, and like I said, with the collection system in particular, doing a basin a year. The exact number of basins, the executive director, I think it was 14, 16, 15. Typically, we do one a year and then spread that out on an annual basis and do the necessary repairs. So that's how these projects were determined to be necessary. And in other cases, with regard to the plant upgrades, because of the age of the plant, certain mechanical and electrical aspects of it obviously have a life expectancy that is nearing the
Its
end.
useful life?
Correct.
Since October 29th of 2012, that being the Superstorm Sandy occurrence, and in its aftermath, the plant has, in essence, had to change its priorities, undergo additional improvements and structural changes to the physical plant, to the treatment plant, to the collection system, to make it compliant with new regulatory schemes that have come out from Superstorm Sandy,
Some of which, yes, mitigation issues, but in addition, the repairs that were necessary to bring the plant and the other facilities back into operation, and you know, those superseded some of the other work that was planned, the other capital work that was planned.
Now, just to be clear, those other projects that were on the planning board, if you will, prior to Superstorm Sandy, were still necessary for the efficient operation of the plant. And as a result of Superstorm Sandy and these mitigation projects and these repair projects, if you will, also became necessary for the efficient operation of the plant. Is that correct?
Yes, and in addition to that, there were significant changes to address mitigation to avoid another potential emergency or shutdowns because of the effects of Sandy. So some of those projects actually expanded because of the need to build to higher elevations and address other issues as well.
Any specifics with regard to some of those modifications? As far as, let's take, for example, the cogeneration project, was that?
Yeah, the cogeneration project basically would, in order to accomplish that, if that had been constructed under the original design, significant damages could have been incurred by that.
In other words, if there was a repeat storm, the project as originally drawn would have caused major damage.
Would have been damaged significantly, correct. And likewise, with regard to as part of that, but in addition, to avoid a major catastrophe, which we came within inches of, the main electrical power supply, equipment, generator, the building itself needed to be upgraded. And that came out of the mitigation issues that Sandy exposed.
Are there any other projects that you can call to mind sitting here tonight that have to be either modified or incepted as a result of Superstorm Sandy?
Yes, flood barriers, the installation of flood barriers, sump pumps for the buildings, some of the pump stations with regard to the generators, the installation of generators and supplied by natural gas fuel, and several of the pump stations, several significant pump stations now are being looked at and are being redesigned at higher elevations.
And it's your understanding with your numerous years of experience in this field of engineering that these capital improvements are in fact necessary for the safe, efficient, regulatorily compliant, and routine maintenance of the Township of Middletown Sewage Authority treatment plant as well as collection system. Is that correct?
Correct. And one of the other items in particular that has been held up to some degree is aerial crossings. Several, I think we have a total of 9 aerial crossings, 3 of which were ready to go before we were delayed with Superstorm Sandy. And those now are on the on the list to get those taken care of as soon as possible.
Those particular projects regarding the aerial crossing, those plans existed pre-Sandy and have since been modified, added to, and of course as time goes on, regardless of Superstorm Sandy, have been added to simply because of the
Simply because they need to be done. They need to be done. They're life expectancy supports erosion has caused some concerns with regard to those particular locations, those particular crossings.
Of course, there's costs associated with all of these capital improvements that you just testified to. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have of Mr. Van Dorp. I would like to now question the TOMSA Independent Auditor, Mr. William Meyer. Mr. Meyer, could you please state your name and your position with the authority?
William Myler, M-E-Y-L-E-R, Authority Auditor, Independent Auditor.
And you, in fact, are a certified municipal auditor and have, and maybe the certification isn't the right word, but you have certain professional acumens in public auditing, is that correct?
I do.
And how long have you been the independent auditor for this particular authority?
At least 15 years.
And you've had an opportunity to, in fact, annually review the budgets and conduct an independent audit of the financial state of the authority, is that correct?
Yes.
And you, in fact, were able to conduct an analysis of the projects that were just testified to by Mr. Van Dorp with regard to their actual costs, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to, this evening, recommend to the board that it amend the quarterly service rate by an amount of $5. Is it your testimony this evening that the authority will remain solvent and compliant with not just accounting best standards, but with state regulatory confines, with a amendment of the quarterly rate in the amount of $5?
To my knowledge, yes.
That's all the questions I have for Mr. Myler. I'm now going to ask Mr. Neerstead, our Executive Director, to make a statement regarding his perspective of the necessity of this amendment to the service rate.
I'm the executive director and have overall management responsibility for the administration, operations, maintenance, and collection system departments. The proposed increase would be $5 per quarter. In the commercial area, it would increase from $4.67 per 1,000 gallons to a $5 charge of $5 per 1,000 gallons. This will be the first increase in 7 years. As I think most of the board knows, our operating budget expenses continually go up each year as hard as we try to control costs. There are two areas that are directly affecting us at this time. These are normal operating costs and Hurricane Sandy costs. Regarding our normal operating costs, our expenses, salaries, pensions, hospitalization, dental, electricity, and the county outflow expenses are increasing each year, while our revenues are decreasing. Our 2014 budget expenses represent an increase of $254,146, or 3.6% over 2013, while our revenue projection shows a decrease of $113,758, or 1.2% under 2013. We use any excess revenues to fund our capital projects. We cannot continue to do this as our revenues continue to drop and we reach into savings. This year is typical of the coming budgets. This rate increase will be used to fund capital projects. On the capital side, we're projecting a need of $13 million over the next 5 years. Some of these projects involve hazard mitigation measures to protect our facilities from future hurricanes. This includes both the treatment plant and pump stations. Other projects are upgrades that are not hurricane related but need to be done. Regarding the fiscal impact of both Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy, both hurricanes caused damage to our plant and pump stations. Hurricane Irene flooded one of our pump stations to a level of 4 feet, while Hurricane Sandy flooded the treatment plant to a level of 2.5 feet. Our request to FEMA for aid included a request for $1.1 million. We do not know when or if we will receive the funds. Some of the requests may not be eligible for reimbursement. We need to move ahead to flood-proof pump stations in the treatment plant in the near future. We have an overall letter of intent submitted to the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management for up to $23 million for projects to protect our infrastructure from future storms. We're following up each avenue of federal, state, and local assistance that we are aware exists. we have submitted an application to the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust for $9 million. This will address treatment plant capital costs as well as some Sandy-related projects. We have requested the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management for money to purchase a new emergency generator and to upgrade the Emory Drive pump station. Also included are upgrades to various pump stations and collection system manholes that need to be raised. We're waiting for the additional FEMA money that we requested and are working to comply with the FEMA hazard mitigation projects that can be partially reimbursed. I'd also like to include for the record, we did a survey of surrounding towns in Monmouth County. With the increase, we would still be the lowest authority in the area at $75 per quarter. The next lowest authority is Long Branch at a cost of $78 per quarter. There's a cluster then of 6 authorities at $90 per quarter. After that, there are a few authorities with costs of $140, $159, $175, and $222 per quarter. So we have worked very hard to provide good quality services at the lowest rates, and I think the survey pretty much tells that.
Members of the board, I am Richard C. Leahy Jr., of course. I am General Counsel to the Township of Middletown Sewage Authority. I'm fully familiar with the facts and circumstances surrounding the alteration of the periodic service charge, which is the subject of this hearing. Having reviewed the proposed capital improvements, applicable government regulations, and New Jersey state statutes which govern the operation of sewage authorities, I am of the firm opinion that the said capital improvements are necessary and reasonable for the safe, efficient, and regulatorily compliant operation of the Township of Middletown Sewage Authority. I've further undertaken a review of the current budget of the Sewage Authority, as well as the proposed costs associated with the necessary capital improvements, and I am again of the firm opinion, and I hereby recommend to the board that a resolution adopting a de minimis alteration of the current periodic service charge, amending said charge by an amount of $5 per quarter be approved, thereby maintaining the sewage authority's position as equal to or less than the lowest per annum cost of any sewage authority in the surrounding area, and as one of the lowest in the state. As noted by the executive director, this board has sought no amendment in the periodic service charge since 2007. I find this alteration in the service charge necessary to maintain compliance with the solvency of the authority as per state statute and regulatory requirements. I further find that the authority administration, spearheaded by the authority engineer, have gone to exceptional lengths to minimize the cost associated with the necessary capital improvements, and the independent auditor, in conjunction with the authority administration, eliminating all extraneous non-essential costs. Notwithstanding, the board having as its primary fiduciary duty the continued safe, efficient operation of the collection system and treatment plant, and said alteration in the periodic service charge being an unavoidable necessity, I would request the board make a motion altering the periodic service charge to maintain compliance with New Jersey statutes and regulations by an amount of $5
Per quarter.
per quarter. That's all the direct testimony I have. If any members of the board would like to direct any questions to any specific professional, I would ask that you do so now.
Chair, how much money does this raise on an annual basis? The increase, the $5 increase?
$550,000.
550, is that correct? Oh, I was given 520,000. Is it 520 or 550?
It's 520.
Is it 520?
520.
Okay, 520,000.
What are our costs over the next 4 years in terms of capital improvements? Well, let's stick first with mitigation projects. How much did you mention, Ray?
Well, total $13 million.
Okay, I'm trying in my mind to see how $500,000 a year over 4 years, which would be $2,080,000, how that would help us fund that amount of money.
The authority is going to excise itself of current reserves. It's going to have to implement some bonding requirements that are necessitated by these capital improvements. And of course, there are the ongoing annual expenses of the authority itself. But between a combination of all those methods, we are satisfied, the professionals are satisfied, that the amendment to the service charge that I am requesting of the board is sufficient to maintain solvency of the authority.
But you're telling me $520,000 a year is going to be sufficient to cover all the capital projects plus all the mitigation projects from Superstorm Sandy, not a hurricane. I'd like the record to show that it was not a hurricane, no hurricane deductibles were allowed.
In conjunction with the methods that I just outlined, the authority will maintain its solvency with this, the minimus increase that I'm requesting of the board.
Are there any areas that, Ray, you would recommend that we look at for possible cuts to assist in paying for mitigation projects, not just increasing the cost for the ratepayers?
Well, basically, this is put together with the available funding that we're going after, the various letters of intent and the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust and the FEMA hazard mitigation grants. If basically over the next year, if we work all it out, we should still be in a good position.
Yeah, but is there any area where we can cut back perhaps, or defer perhaps a 5-year project to become an 8-year project? In other words, spread out the cost a little bit better so the $520,000 goes a little bit further.
Let me just make a statement. This NJEIT funding is for a 20-year payback. So the $500,000, $520,000 will be used as a payback over that period of time. These projects this will allow for these projects to be instituted, for them to be designed, constructed at this time, and paid back over a 20-year period. So that's basically, and as Ray indicated, there's money that has been put aside for some of these projects, but because of Sandy, we got into a situation where a lot of money had to be expended to take care of
That I understand. I'm coming from the standpoint that I would prefer almost a separate charge be included with an expiration date to cover the mitigation costs, solely the mitigation costs and the repair damage from the storm, and keep that kind of separate and escrowed into a fund solely to pay for that, rather than...
Mitigation as part of these is kind of inherent into a lot of the changes. In some of that mitigation, yes, we're raising up the equipment, but it's also nearing its end of its life expectancy. The generator, 25 years old. The electrical system, not just the main control MCCs in the generator building, but also the sludge building. So part of these things are mitigation, and to separate them is not necessarily clear in all cases. Some of it could be. I mean, the flood barriers, and you know, that's pretty straightforward. Mitigation issues with regard to generators at pump stations that don't have them, things of that nature. But I think you're losing something if you try to separate it into that. And you know, we've gone after funding. They asked us back a year ago. We started putting this together, as you're well aware, within a week after Superstorm Sandy. So, I mean, it became a situation here where we've been going after every means that the authority could get to get mitigation monies.
Here's my concern, where I'm really coming from. We have a fiduciary responsibility, as eloquently pointed out by our counsel. Is the $5 truly sufficient to cover all these costs? I just want to make sure that we're not going to go back to the well next year or the year after.
Mr. Stokes, I can assure you that we have, this hearing that we're sitting at tonight is the culmination of many hours of work by all the professionals you see here tonight, as well as board members, and it has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and we are really doing this at the most efficient, cost-saving manner that we can develop. The $5 is sufficient to maintain solvency. We don't expect to have to turn around and go back to our ratepayers in the near future. We have the good fortune of having some reserve, which we anticipated having these expenditures, and we have that reserve to defray some of these costs, to minimize borrowing. But to answer your question, the short answer is the $5 is sufficient to maintain the solid solvency of this authority and allow these absolutely necessary capital improvements to be made.
And is it my understanding that a portion of these costs for what has to be done for the treatment plant will also be passed along to other customers other than Middletown ratepayers?
Oh, the rate is reflective across the board for both large and small customers.
I'm referring to the agreement.
I understand that we have large independent customers that will be
Participating in the,
their pro rata share of
That's
any
what-
rate alteration that the board sees.
I
fit
just
to
want to make
take.
sure that's very good. I'm finished, Madam Chair.
Okay. Well,
Any other questions from the board?
does anyone else have any questions?
I'd like to invite the public to ask any questions they may have regarding the testimony that was presented this evening.
Seeing no one from the public, I make a motion that we close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll second it.
I would like to make a comment. This is a culmination of hours and hours and hours of work, and through our professionals and board members, no one ever likes to make a rate increase. However, at times, a rate increase is necessary, and I believe that everyone has worked very, very diligently here to keep our plant running efficiently, safely, and I think they've done a fabulous job, and I'd like to commend all of them, each and every one of them, for the time and the effort that they did put into this, and it's very well appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
So shall we proceed with a vote on the resolution?
Do we have a resolution?
Yeah, the resolution.
It's in the back number.
Yes.
It's in my packet.
Number one? Okay.
Madam Chair, it's resolution number 32-2014, and I would ask that the board move and
I move to
vote for
approve.
approval.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Zesser?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Thank you.
So be
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and effort.
You can continue.
Next item is the minutes of the regular meeting of March 17th.
Does anyone have any questions? May I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
No.
Do you have any questions, Emma?
No.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Zesser?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
In consideration of a consent agenda resolution 33, 2014 through 36, 2014, does anyone desire to discuss an individual item on any of these resolutions?
One item I have, I'm just going through my sheets. The operating bills, page something, the second page from the rear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 from the bottom, 6 from the top. Trust account of Gil Messina. What is that?
I believe that was that was the lawsuit settlement, I believe it was the Barry account.
Barry account.
Yeah.
The easements.
That was the agreement, we were gonna pay $14,300?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was the question I was doing recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's probably the attorney.
Yeah. I gotta grab this year.
Now.
That's true.
Need a motion?
Can I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Rita,
Second.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith. Yes. Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Metzger.
Yes.
Mr. Dash.
Yes.
Okay, next is the engineer status report.
Okay, Hurricane Sandy Support Services, Brian's been handling most of that. Anything that comes up and we talk it over, and he's been handling a lot more now, though, that he's been doing. The MCC generator cogen study, basically we're submitted, as far as the study is concerned, the committee, engineering committee, is still going to sit down and talk about basically the cogen project. But with regard to the MCC, the generator, and the upgrades to that building, as the authorities is well aware, submittal of plans and specifications have been submitted for NJEIP funding. So we're waiting for a response back from them
On the cogen, part of that.
The
Do we have a
cogen
target date
for
for getting together?
anytime this week, next week.
Hey, you work for a living, I know.
All right, we'll set it up. All right?
Let's go
I guess
over
what
it.
he's telling you is, he's available anytime.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Almost anytime.
Almost.
Pick a nice day when he's flying, down your cover.
Like a rainy day, then
Any
you know.
rainy day.
We don't want any more rainy days. It might be snow.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, you,
Okay.
we can do it at Raritan Center or wherever you wanna do it. I live right near there, so,
Okay, all right,
I don't want you to come down here and,
okay.
Charlie, you're on that subcommittee, do you wanna
wanna join on
attend?
that one?
Well, give me a call when you set it up, when I see
Okay.
what we're on.
Let's shoot for Wednesday,
Okay.
okay? And then,
Got a meeting at 7:30, that should be done, 9:30, 10 o'clock, anything.
okay, Wednesday morning, I'll see what I got going Wednesday morning. You never know with us retirees.
Good. Main Street repair, this is a project that has been on hold, because of the other things that have been going on, so, hopefully, that'll be something that's added to our capital projects here, and we'll take care of that. Maybe when we put together another collection system, repair and improvement. The pump station emergency facility evaluation was done, as was reported before. We've got the gas company applications in, and they've been very slow with regard to all of this, as they
How long have we been
typically
waiting for
are.
that? I guess you can recall.
About a year.
I was
About
gonna
a year.
say,
Yeah.
Now, when we have the application, who's gonna do the work? Are we gonna do the trenching and stuff, and they're gonna connect it up to their system, or are they gonna go?
I think we got them to commit that they're gonna do the installation from the street into the, and we're waiting for some prices on that, and we can make that decision at that time if there's some. For the
Okay.
most part, the only one that would be of real concern, bringing it in any kind of distance, would be Emery Drive. The others are close by and basically right off the street, most of the others.
Okay, you have the game plan is to convert the generators from propane over to natural gas.
Yeah.
Okay, have we provided
In
in
some
this?
cases, new generators that would be.
Well, yes, okay, but those that are gonna convert, have we looked at the conversion kits that are gonna have to go in there?
It's relatively simple and inexpensive.
Oh, I know it's simple, I just wanna make sure you don't think you're just gonna connect it up
We'll
and turn it on.
probably get a manufacturer's rep to do it,
Okay,
to do the conversion.
he's gonna change the offices. Good enough.
Okay, Emery Drive, force main, that permit has been received. The only issue there is the Navy easement, and we've been working with them very closely. We just completed the easement description. For whatever reason, the Navy wanted a specific, we tried to get a blanket easement for all of Newman Springs Road. That's what the easement is, it's Newman Springs Road, it's just a formality. But once it got in, and we were led to believe it was gonna be very quick.
Everything's
in
quick.
delays, and once it went to Washington, or,
It's even quicker.
yeah, it's like the gas company. But I think we're
Not clear.
we're getting there now, so we should have that shortly. And we have not been, there's really been no push.
By the building.
Right, right.
Fine, and you're not going back to ask them, what's up with you guys?
No,
Good,
no.
keep it that way.
Although that issue is, now coming to the forefront, from what I heard late last week.
Let them come to you. Okay.
The Emery Drive pump station improvements. This project has been awarded. There's been some discussions with the contractor because of the potential funding that we could get for this project. So certain timetables, once again, these monies that are forthcoming, you can't spend any of our money before they approve it.
Right.
And it's something that will push this project back significantly. As you recall, we were anxious to get this because it's a mitigation project because of the damages that were done before. Consequently, we rushed to get the design done, to get the project awarded, and which prohibited us from putting it into NJEIT. But then there's the mitigation pump station project funding that's out there, and they've indicated that they're looking at it favorably. So it's a matter of getting a negotiation here with the contractor.
So it's a wait and see game. Are we getting the money, and how much will the contractor charge us to put the project off for a
That's what
period of time?
we've approached him with a couple of options here: 6-month delay, 9-month delay, year delay. So we're waiting for him to get back to us on this, and Brian's been in contact too with the review engineer that's, getting started reviewing it, I guess.
That's in the state end, right?
Yeah.
And as far as the application for that was submitted back in February 28th. Been hounding the state, asking them what's going on with it. They sent back comments as of Thursday, so I'm working to get those addressed.
Good.
now.
So they're alive.
Do you have any feel at all, September, October, August?
Well, the state's delayed, there was a deadline originally of March 3rd.
And that was moved.
And that's been moved 3 times. The deadline for the applications is now May 30th. So they've already delayed that for 3 months. And from when I speak with people at the state, they're still in discussions with FEMA and developing a new program in the direct area.
I thought that was all in place.
We're working with.
What is this crap?
Yeah, it seems like as much trouble as we're having with the state's having that much trouble with
FEMA. It's,
You know, all these promises just aren't coming through.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
How-
one of the impetuses on the rate, why we have to do a rate increase.
how long can we put off the project?
Yeah.
I
Because
think,
Before-
I
before
really
it
think
starts
it's
to
up to,
impact.
I really think it's up to the contractor and what the costs would be on this thing. You know, it's not that easy. I mean, we started reviewing and approving shop drawings quite a while ago. You know, and it becomes a situation here, we don't even have the option here of going in here and paying for the equipment ahead of time.
At some point, will we have to make a decision, forget the money and go ahead with the project?
I think definitely that's gotta happen. You know, we have to see what the likelihood is that we're gonna get one.
And how long, I know BAM is putting in the pipe, so how long can we go along?
That's independent of the two.
So it's independent?
Independent.
Okay, so then we can continue to operate as is without having any impact on BAM?
Yeah, but we have to be concerned here with another storm, another flood event.
Which,
that's from Emery Drive Pumping Station point of view.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that BAM Hollow LCC will, when they install their system, will impact Emery Drive per se.
No, once the force main's put in, you know, we've got that area, we've got that issue addressed.
So that's basically gonna bypass Emery Drive Pumping Station.
It's not gonna bypass this time, it's going into the Emery Drive pump station.
Yeah, but right now, we don't have the capacity to do it.
Yeah, we
share them.
Oh, we don't, okay, fine. So they,
so,
the game plan is really, is more a mitigation thing than anything else.
It's a
And rebuilding.
mitigation thing more than.
And rebuilding it
Yeah,
to a more modern pumping station.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
do we have anything we can do in the interim, just in case there's another superstorm Sandy this fall? I mean, we were lucky last summer, we were lucky this winter, we didn't have a northeaster.
I would say there's nothing we can do.
Nothing that I can
Well,
think
Sandy
of.
didn't do it, it was the Hurricane Irene that did it. We didn't get anything out of Sandy.
Right,
No,
right,
no, it was Irene.
Irene.
Yeah.
Right, but if we,
So that was a year.
And that was once in 100 years, I mean, pretty well, because that's the one that blew over Swimming River Reservoir.
I don't know, I mean, that area is, you know, we had people out there when we were doing the I&I study and for that basin. And Tom was out there and it was way over the banks.
Is that an issue because of the parkway flow underneath the parkway is blocking it to
Sure.
a certain degree?
Yeah, I'll tell you stories sometime.
so,
I mean, you're like, I knew nothing about it, and how close am I to the real issue? Very close.
Yeah, and that's notorious, it's not about this site, I'll tell you, it's personal, you know, but basically it's the same thing. The parkway, construction of the parkway, you know, caused blockages.
Oh, of course, there's a big barrier, and it all steers a certain point, and somehow you gotta get it on the other side,
Yeah,
one way or another.
yeah.
Can we take it down?
And
you
they went
mean
to,
shut them off?
and they went to Minus Plumbing to get all their 3-inch pipe, right?
I never was in favor of it.
Anyway, okay, let's go.
Okay.
I think we talked enough about the NJEIT funded projects. I think that basically we're expecting probably the end of May, we would look to them to start approving that. They have to approve it before we can bid.
Do they approve each individual project or some, or groups?
I don't know how they're gonna handle this one. This is as one application, so,
Right.
you know, we have to.
Okay.
And, we'll start calling them and see what's going
Yeah.
on, but I don't know that this isn't gonna, you know, the whole situation isn't gonna be delayed by FEMA and mitigation, the money's available and everything
I
else.
thought there was a lot of money available.
Oh,
The
yeah.
federal government just put a whole barrel there, what happened to it?
Administratively, you saw how many people came out here from the
This is
city.
an R permit and they should.
They put it out there, but they got a stranglehold on it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the control building floor slab, I guess about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, this was identified, and it's a project that's gonna have to be taken care of. It's more than just spalling. You know, we're estimating it could be as much as $50,000. Apparently, this location was subject to spillage from
Chlorine,
hypochlorite, yeah.
sodium hypochlorite.
Yes. And we're concerned with the damages. I had a structural engineer out here together with Roland and basically the reinforcing bars. So we're gonna have to go in there and cut this thing out and go in there and put in dowels and support this thing. And temporarily support it from underneath so that we don't have any injuries that occur.
Is it, right now, I think it's cordoned off, correct?
Yeah, I think it's going
Yes.
to.
Okay, so we're not going to have anybody in there, no accidents?
Correct.
From the top, I guess it's just a matter of the tile is uneven and buckling a little bit, but from underneath, we have pictures.
And we're not worried about the tiling blowing off or anything like that?
So this is a,
Tiling's the least of our
yeah,
problems.
no, that's easy. This is a Johnny-come-lately thing. And so this was not included in any of the other projects, per
No,
se.
no,
So this is something we can fund separately,
yes,
directly,
yes.
most
This just
likely.
came up like.
We're gonna
I understand that, but it's in no way gonna mesh into anything else, so this is a totally independent project. That means-
And it would be handled separately.
And it gives us the opportunity to move ahead and address it.
Yes.
Okay.
If anybody has any other questions?
Anyone? Okay.
Okay, next item is the engineer subdivision report.
Okay, this is the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center taking over the office building over at exit 114. It's basically just gonna, it's a conversion. There's not significant increase in the flows. Actually, there's a reduction in the flow, even though there's a slight increase of 10,080 square foot addition. But the usage is gonna be less than what it was before. Basically, that building has been sitting unoccupied for quite some time. That utilizes a pump station. And I think they've asked for a new 8-inch lateral only because of, they want to maintain the slope. They're gonna lower, I contacted them. I think a 6-inch lateral will do the trick. They're going to drop the invert at the building, and the location and the invert at the manhole to which it goes to the pump station will remain the same. So I talked to their engineer directly, and quite frankly, you know, feel that 6 inches is adequate. You know, he felt more comfortable with just an 8-inch. It doesn't affect us one way or the other. There's no additional.
His show. It's his show.
Yeah, it's his show. And quite frankly, I don't believe we would have jurisdiction as the authority anyway. It would be the plumbing inspector. Typically, they take from the building to the street.
Wouldn't an 8-inch be more advantageous anyway?
Depends on the flow.
Doesn't matter, it's an overview,
Okay.
you know.
And last month, I think you mentioned that there wouldn't be any hazardous waste going in there.
No.
I just
No,
wanted,
typically, that they basically would, you know, be
Yeah.
under,
I just wanted to
scrutiny.
revisit that.
Yeah, definitely.
That, we talked about flows for Sloan Kettering. Yeah, and other type customers, we talk about connections. You know, number of units in there, and how does that translate?
Well, this is a reduction in the flow.
Understand it. But typically, we charge if they have more, what do you call it, units?
Yeah, equivalent
More
units.
usage.
So equivalent then, well, units, then
There's
it's,
gonna be no, you don't give the money back.
no question.
If there are
No, any-
drops.
okay. You could have more units, and still have a drop in flow.
Yeah, you could.
So, but we're only gonna, do we charge them on a flow basis, or?
Yes, they'll be
Oh,
charged
okay.
annually on a flow
Okay,
basis.
fine, that takes care of that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I believe it's metered water use.
Metered, right? Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
We had, you can see our letter also attached to this with standard comments, but we recommend preliminary and final approval. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, there is a resolution, and I'll go for a roll call.
I'll
Do
move
we
it.
do
It has to be moved.
Right, I need a motion,
Move it.
move it, and a second.
Second. That's 3714, right?
Mr. Rogers?
Yes, yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Zacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowers?
Yes.
Okay, next is the executive director's report. Let's see, there were no lost time accidents during the month of March. All operations were conducted within permit guidelines during March. We had our annual laboratory inspection. Everything went well. Usually, Diana in the lab, she goes to the New Jersey Water Environment Conference and sits in the laboratory discussion for the day. And then when they come out, basically they upgrade anything that needs to be upgraded in the record keeping or text and everything. On the financial side, let's see, we're a little bit higher on revenue for February, a little bit, just a hair under for the year so far. The expenses were under for the month, but a little bit over for the year. Treatment plant flow is up to 5.81 million gallons per day. It looks like it's gonna be up over 6 or 6.5 this month.
Any reason?
Just well, it corresponds pretty good with the rain and the snow and,
Because we've had a period where it was like 4.5, 4.7,
yeah.
and this is because the weather cycle is wetter now.
Yeah,
It's become weather, we're actually picking up more water, so this is what, more infiltration?
yeah, infiltration is under the ground or inflow if it's raining, yeah.
Or connections by houses and.
Well, I don't know, maybe some pumps to a certain extent.
Okay, the next item is a settlement has been reached between the Coastal Discharges Group and the NJDEP. This has been going on since 2007, and we almost had agreements, we didn't, now we're back to actually having a formal agreement. There's only two things that affect us, and the first is that the mixing zone, which is basically, if you have a contaminant, how much can you dilute it, in the ocean? And basically, it's gonna change from a standard of 100 meters to a distance of a quarter the distance of the outfall from the shore, which in our case is 1,000 feet, which comes to 305 meters. So we're tripling the area, and then of course, a big impact on the volume. But it's not gonna affect us at all right now, but basically anything coming down the pipe, we would have a much larger dilution. So we would get a lower limit on anything proposed.
Well, to put this in perspective though,
Yeah,
our output goes to McBowen.
yeah,
Bay Shore Regional goes to McBowen.
right,
So we're a percentage of that flow going out there.
right, right,
Okay.
yeah.
right.
It's not our flow, it's combo
Combined
flow.
flow, that's right.
Then we have a certain interest in that flow.
Yeah,
But
This is good news, though.
This
Yeah.
works to
This is
our
a good
advantage.
Yeah, this is-
Because
no
it gives
question
us
about
a
it.
much bigger dilution.
yeah, yeah. And then the other impact is on the ammonia testing. We've done it every day for the last 5 years, $8 a day. It's gonna drop to once a quarter, so that's it's like a $2,500 savings over the year, so.
First savings of the year, guys.
First savings. Yeah,
Talking to exhaustion.
yeah, they wanted basically 5 years worth of data, and they got it. So they can, basically do what they need to do now.
But, Ray, as I read that agreement,
Yeah.
first of all, it's a partial settlement, it's not a full settlement.
That's right. There's
That's
still
what
some
it's called.
conditions attached.
There are other stuff going
Yeah.
on. Then you talk about computer data and computer systems, and
And the software.
they talk about the software that is not compatible to today's modern operating systems, and it kind of sounded like they're leaning on us to upgrade all that stuff.
Well, it actually, to tell you the truth, it can't really be upgraded. That's basically why the thing took so long, was that the study was done quite a while ago.
2002 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a guy, Chris Abrupta, who worked
Yeah.
for the hydroqual, who's now actually a professor at Rutgers, I think. But he did the work, and it was all submitted to the DEP, and the DEP just let it sit there for a number of years.
Right.
And then basically, when they tried to use it, the programs were old, they couldn't use it. So basically, we do have to jump through some hoops. We have to basically submit all the data that we have, which basically, Brian and Brian will be working on that. But the data that we have on the ammonia and 4 or 5 other parameters, they want it for the 5-year period in a certain format. But the legal firm that's working on this with us, Hall and Associates, basically they've just given us a proposal for assisting us with that work. And all the coastal discharges are using Hall, so everything will be standardized and given in a package. And I did talk to Bob Fisher at Bayshore about it, and he's basically just coming back from vacation, so we'll talk about it. But we have an estimate, and we'll split it with them and see how to proceed. But there's a time limit too, we only have 3 months.
But they want it not only on paper, they want it in electronic form.
Yeah, well, electronic is easy.
But what electronic form for a software system doesn't work?
Well, that was the modeling, we
Okay.
don't have to worry about that, that was all done, it's a done deal. It was accepted now, and that's done. So what they're asking for is just our data, and that,
In Excel form?
in Excel form,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, that put Chris Abrupta through graduate school, and got him his job as a professor, so it worked good.
Well, the issue here, basically, is they can't reproduce any of that anymore, so they have to take it for what it is.
Yeah. They had, between the DEP, and I think the EPA was involved in it too, and they looked at everything and just put it down for years, and,
Now they have no choice.
Yeah.
Except, okay.
yeah. Let's see, just, other good news, we received a FEMA check for $449.
Okay, we gotta move to
Oh,
accept
sorry.
that settlement.
Well, actually, at the end of this, we can do
Yeah,
it.
we'll do that.
Yeah. We received a FEMA check for $449.
Do we have a clue what
You
it's
know,
for?
yeah, what is that for?
That was it was a small adjustment in one of the, basically something that they had rejected, Brian.
Oh, the
Fisher-
rejected.
Yeah, we filed
Right,
an
right,
appeal
okay.
for it.
Yeah.
I think it was administrative costs for Mazer to respond and help with the response to the cleanup.
So they gave you full 400 that you put in?
$499.
Yeah, but that was not the appeal, that was the cost.
Let's see, we have about another $349,000.
Yeah, right.
$500.
But
So they gave
that's
us
not-
$449, right?
They just gave you
They're
500?
good guys, good guys.
It's trickling.
Are you-
They're really impressed.
Are you complaining? I mean, $500.
At this
It's
rate,
better than nothing.
the world will come to an end before we get it.
We should start
The
talking
EMP
interest.
pulse from the sun will destroy all the electronics.
Anyway, let's go on.
The annual safety training, we just have one more CPR training class. We haven't received a letter from JCP&L, but we are considered to be a priority customer. We're gonna auction off a 2006 Ford F-250 truck with a utility body. It's got 145,000 miles. It has value of about $10,000. The original price was $26,452. We just basically advertise it in the newspaper. We collect a sealed bid auction and do it that way. If we have a few more items, then we go to that gov.deals and go through a formal process.
Right, have we ever checked into leasing? Would leasing work for us at all, or no?
I don't think so. Yeah, leasing trucks and,
This is for short periods with limited mileage.
Okay.
And the whole idea is to write it down and then give it back, and I don't know if we're in a position to have any reason to give back a truck in up to
Maybe better
2
to
years.
purchase them. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Now, part of our capital program is replacing aging vehicles. There's two trucks that we held on to basically after the hurricane, and we'd like to replace them now. The first vehicle is a 2006 Dodge Dakota pickup that is used as the second collection system vehicle with just 101,000 miles on it. The original price was $16,000. It's worth about $6,000, and the replacement cost is about $24,000. You know, we do good with the state contract. We can use a truck for a number of years and then replace it, you know, without really losing a lot of money. The second vehicle is a 2010 Chevrolet. That's the primary collections vehicle. It's got a 109,000. Original price was $30,000. It's still worth about $20,000, and that's because it's only a 4-year-old truck. But it's got basically, you know, if we can get the 20 for it and buy a new one for 35, we're doing pretty good. So that's our. A few years ago, well, when PAC started, basically we had a very old fleet, and we adopted the position of when something hit 100,000 miles, basically we replaced it, and so that's basically the request for the two vehicles. Usually it takes quite a few months to get them. I mean,
Right.
it's not a.
Ray, is that because the man hours to keep them going
Yeah,
overtakes
eventually.
the cost of purchasing a new one?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we have, well, I guess we'd like to do that if we can.
Is that all one resolution?
It's not a resolution, it's just basically the word.
You want a feel of what our position is.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone have any
Sounds
comments?
like a way to go.
Anybody else?
John?
Okay.
Okay, so hearing no nays, go right ahead.
Okay. At this point, we have 5 applications for summer workers. And that just, I guess, you know, with the unemployment like it is out there, that the ages are up from, usually we get 2 or 3 summer kids, but the ages are 27 all the way down to 19, so it's 2 27, 2 23-year-olds, and a 19 and a 20, so they're a little older than our usual, but we'll see.
This
Basically,
goes for
expand
what,
it down.
June or May through what?
Yeah, the college guys get out in May, and they're pretty much gone the end of August. Usually one guy might stay into September. So,
What do they do?
they do all the grass cutting, the weed whacking, the,
Do you
sometimes-
get involved in any of the current business of operations or
No,
a collector or anything like that?
Nothing, no.
They paint things and things like that?
Yeah, paint outside, paint the manholes, paint the poles, paint, yeah.
Wash the windows,
Yeah, they can do it, the
Sweep.
windows.
Whatever.
Yeah,
clean up the pigeon stuff.
yeah, the geese, yeah. Okay, we talked about the concrete floor, the collection system personnel, collection system calls was 25 during March, 9 blockages, 3 pump station related service calls, 1 manhole overflow, and 1 maintenance department repair. We performed 13 sewer lateral dig-ups with rock solid, 2 in-plant valve repairs. Oswald's finishing up with the list that we gave them. We're getting both of the annual contracts are getting ready. We're gonna send them out at the beginning of May. Hopefully have them back the end of May and award them in June for a July start.
They go off the bid, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, both of the contractors came back to us with some recommendations for things to change, so that was good. Personnel, we have 1 mechanic on temporary disability, who may or may not be looking into a permanent disability, but we've been in touch with him. The doctor's requiring him to be out up to 3 months, and he's past the 2-month mark now. One of our collection system operators is resigning, effective basically July 1. He's from Tennessee and basically wants to move closer to his family. An operator from the second shift has basically, we posted his position, and an operator from the second shift wants that moved. So now we have a vacancy for the second shift operator position. We posted that, there wasn't any interest in-house, so we'll be going after that. We've interviewed for a new maintenance mechanic and are recommending the hiring of Jesse Matthews as a probationary employee. That'll be a resolution coming up.
Is that a addition to staff, or is that a replacement?
That's in addition to staff, yeah, yeah. It's one maintenance position.
My understanding, we've always been short on mechanics.
Yeah, that was
So we're
my
gonna
fault.
bump this one, and
Yeah.
our mechanics are getting old too, so, you know, we need to,
The one on TD, does he have 10 years in the pension system?
Yes,
Okay, so he is eligible to file for permanent
yeah,
disability retirement.
yeah. Yeah. New applications, we had the one new subdivision application for, which we just did, Memorial Sloan Veteran, one new connection fee in March. External contacts, Brian went to a seminar on designing for ADA compliance, which was very timely. The New Jersey Water Environment Association Conference is coming up during the week of May 12th, and usually the management staff tries to go to that for one or 2 days. They have, it's actually one of the largest state conferences in the country, and it's really, you know, between us and, it's not as big as the national, but it's a very large show. A number of our employees attended the Water Environment Association Technology Transfer Seminar during March. That was to get the continuing education credits. Let's see, on the subdivision status report, there's not a lot of movement, but we've been updating that each month. Let's see, then I guess the resolutions.
what's this one about RNS expansion? I thought RNS expansion is over.
Well, I have to go through and update it. We were working the last couple of weeks, we took the last part of it, the last page, the future.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have a new form for that we're gonna be unveiling probably at the next meeting. And then after that, we'll go into this one and take off the ones that are dead. Okay, the first one is the resolution approving the settlement of the New Jersey Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit appeal and authorizing executive director to execute all necessary settlement documents. That's resolution 38, 2014. Do you need a motion?
May I have a second, please? Second. Thank you. Did you get that?
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Zappa?
Yes.
Mrs. Bass?
Okay, the next resolution is basically be it resolved by the Township Middletown Sewage Authority that Jesse Matthews be hired as a probationary employee effective April 21st at an annual rate of $20.89 per hour. At the time of successfully completing his 90-day probationary period, he will receive an additional 50 cents per hour. I did provide the two applications for the top two out of the people that we did.
Did look at it.
Yeah.
It's just pending his criminal background check, which takes a little while to get back, so I just want the board to be aware of it.
So he can't come on board until we get the...
He can,
He
as
can?
probationary, yes,
Okay.
and it's just, you know.
So you just can't go past probationary if he's out.
Until,
Right, I expect it back within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Ray, he's gonna be okay making $3 less an hour?
He's gonna, yeah, he basically knows that over the period, he'll go up pretty quick over the 3 years.
it's coming in a lot.
He may be making less, but his, the benefits are a lot better than he probably has.
Yeah.
He's working for Sal Arpieri's group, so I see that.
Yeah.
Is he somebody you see being valuable into the future?
Yeah, his references actually were excellent. They, both of the people that I talked to were really sorry to see him go. So,
If you go over to the, we happened to get all the resumes, and there were two that stood out, him and one other person. And potentially, if the mechanic who's on extended leave goes on disability, there'll be another position that's gonna open up. And the other person probably would slip into that. And they look good. I mean, they're mechanics, they're not people who wanna be mechanics. They've been in it a while.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they have very good work experience.
Security guard,
So
That's what you said before, we have to replace an aging workforce.
And it starts right here.
I'm gonna start.
Where's the Scary.
Easy, easy.
Easy.
I'm 29.
Speak for yourself.
Aging commissioners.
I'm glad you're older than me.
So we need a resolution.
I'll move it.
I'll move it. Do I have a second? Joan? Marie, did you get that?
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Epsick?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Okay, next is the construction fund analysis. I guess basically, it hasn't changed much from last month, but we were talking about the projects. We have them all memorized at this point.
We've seen them before.
Yeah. Okay.
Question of getting the whole thing moving,
Yeah,
what it's all about
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. Actually, there was the question of what projects would we like to get going?
You got it right here.
Yeah, well, like I said, the vehicles, obviously, that's an easy one to move on. We have been doing the GIS mapping and the GPS basins. We'd like to move ahead with that wireless project for the pump stations. That starts off with a $50,000 contract with basically the engineering firm that did the work originally. And then there's a series of buying equipment and actually getting it going.
Is that part of the grand plan that we had? Was that a separate project?
The wireless?
Yeah.
That's the project.
No, was it part of the grand plan that we put forth, all the $13 million bundle?
No, it's not, no.
This is separate.
Yeah, this is.
So this would be separate,
Yeah.
funded directly by Thompson.
Yeah,
Sounds like a good deal.
yeah, I think so, and it should, go on.
When, do you need a resolution to start that?
No, I don't think so.
Does it go to bid?
Yeah. It's a professional contract.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Then, we'll start looking at basically the flood hazard mitigation grant items that we could get reimbursed for. We'll start looking at those. And the consideration is for an I&I project, if we want to go through with an I&I project this year, for about $300,000. We had one appropriated for 2015. And basically, we could still wait for 2015, but
But
if there was interest.
we didn't do one in 13, correct?
We did three in, it was 2011, I think we did three of them.
Right.
Yeah, so
that was the last
basically,
we've done,
Yes.
2011?
I think it was 2011.
Yeah, but we did three
Those are
associated with Dale Hollow and that stuff.
Yeah.
We had to do three, so
Yeah.
then we did nothing after that.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah,
So
yeah.
our policy in the board has been to do a basin a year.
Yeah.
And you're now behind, so.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, and please correct me if you don't agree, that we should do one and get another basin completed.
That would be fine.
This year.
What is the rest of the board?
Should be done every year.
Yeah.
We should, if we have a game plan of a basin coming around every 10 years, then we know we can't do that, but we shouldn't stop because it gets worse.
Do you know what basin is up for?
6, I believe.
It is
Yeah, 6.
So, you know.
Okay,
You want to,
yeah, yeah.
does the board want to authorize that tonight, or do you want to wait till the next meeting?
It's probably up to John putting together a proposal.
Right.
Yeah,
So
we'll
we'll
just
get-
wait. Next month.
Next month.
Yeah. So
We're
we,
rolling.
yeah, we can start with the wireless project. There's other projects that actually are going on. We're looking at an upgrade to the phone system because the Merlin system is getting too old. We're looking at scanning documents, which we're collecting prices for.
Oh, say that again.
Scanning documents.
For what?
The easements and the.
Just to get them in electronic form.
applications, yeah. We can append them into the ViewWorks to collect.
So who's gonna do that?
We're getting prices to do it.
So
To
we're
have
gonna
it done?
contract someone in to do that stuff?
Yeah, they come in and do that,
Okay.
yeah.
So we can't do that in-house.
There's like 20,000 applications. So that's
It's
a
about
lot.
40,000.
All stuff.
Yeah.
About how many man-hours?
It depends on what equipment you have. With our equipment,
We don't have the
like go
equipment,
crazy.
they're gonna bring in their own
Yeah,
equipment?
we would
It's a high-speed
send
scanner.
the
Separate-
documents,
send it
send
out.
the documents to them.
So are we saving money by sending it out?
It's
Yeah.
versus
Is
using
what
our
I'm
labor and
hearing.
equipment, yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
you
what I'm
can-
hearing.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't do it.
We don't have the equipment and
The
we've been on
man-hours.
manpower.
One other item, and I know the board, even though it is part of the big application, if we could maybe figure out the least expensive aspect of the ADA, rather than revising the transition plan again. I know it is part of the application, but if we can get one aspect of that moving, it would show.
Well, what were we scheduled for 4?
Well, I think the first aspect was the front entrance.
Well, I think it's,
Fairly major project.
yeah, but the plans are already, plans are already in. So to separate it,
I know, we're trying.
We're moving forward, but we're constrained
I
by,
know we are.
by
I know we are.
The
the
approval
financial
process.
end of it, getting that all going.
We may have
And
to.
also the approval process
That's
with
right.
regard
Right.
to the
And
funding.
that's what we gotta do.
We may have to consider within the next 2 meetings then making a slight modification to the transition plan to reflect the timeline a little bit.
What?
Well, because
Wait for the plan.
the plan was to have at least one aspect done by spring of this year.
But we ran into
I understand.
lots of issues. It's not that we haven't intended on doing
I just
it,
don't want
and we're trying to overcome all
the
that.
public returning and saying, you haven't done anything. But we are doing things, it's just not apparent.
Okay,
Not
but
in their face.
the fact that we have put a plan together.
Yes,
The fact
We're
that
moving
we've
forward.
the
made,
design has
we've
been,
done the designs, we've done, it is.
so it is moving forward.
I understand.
It's just not visible yet.
I understand.
Okay.
But when do you anticipate it actually being completed so that it would be fully ADA compliant, the entrance?
2016.
But we're waiting for the NJDIT funding.
It's in the funding issue.
It's
I
in
mean,
funding.
it's that whole
Yeah, it should be done.
big thing.
15, Mr. Stokes, 15.
15?
Oh, the transition plan calls for 15 because of the submission, necessary submission bureaucracy. I anticipated maybe modifying the transition plan to reflect a little bit more of a changed timeline. It may not be necessary, but I just, we
It is.
What about,
To me, it's just
we've
making
got some of
the
these
rules
other
go on.
projects here, Ray, with regard to the raising the manholes and
oh, yeah, that's.
some of those things. And even the flood proofing, or, jumping brook or clay pit or something like that.
Well, it's all a matter of the funding. If we get the Emory Drive funding,
Yeah.
then we have to decide how we're gonna handle the rest of them.
Well, could we now, my understanding was we can go in there with clay pit or jumping brook and do the design and have that as part of this thing and proceed with Emory Drive, is that right?
Yeah, there's a $1 million worth of eligible expenses that we
Like
can
the-
put
Well,
in to submit.
would they cover jumping brook and clay pit?
Possibly, they do fit the scope that they're looking for.
Okay, if they fit this scope here's an option. If we're gonna get, monies, $1 million, Jumping Brook's very similar to Emory Drive. So assume that's gonna be $600,000. Clay pit is probably something, a couple hundred, maybe you know,
So
right there, you got your $1 million.
Mhm.
If we were assured that those would be covered and we could get the funding for those, then Emery Drive could proceed, we wouldn't have to worry about the, you know, delaying that any further.
What's the timing?
We don't have a definite.
Yeah, I don't, they're not they're far from a slam dunk case. The states, or the FEMA is looking for a history of hazard at those stations, natural hazards. They
So
haven't been
everything is-
flooded, they haven't.
Right.
And they keep adding new criteria
Brian,
as time goes on.
There were, in this infrastructure group of projects, there was $2,032,000, and we were only gonna do $1 million, because that's what we thought we would get grant money. Well, can't we do one of the other projects in there?
Well, the $1 million is the ceiling to the available grant funds.
Right,
So what we
but
did is
there's
we
$2
put
million there.
No, there's not 2 million there. We originally didn't know how the grant funds were gonna be organized, and once we went to the meeting and were explained how the program was gonna work, and that we had to prioritize which projects.
Right, but in
to
that
spend.
group of projects, there's $2 million worth of projects. We were only gonna do 1 million
Mhm.
based upon the funding that we were gonna get.
Yeah,
Well, what about the other $1 million?
well, that would have to come whenever the authority decides
Well, that's
to
what
do
we're
that
talking
work.
about here now.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
Can't we move on one of those projects?
Yeah, we can.
I can put together proposals for Jumping Brook and Clay Pit. And in-house, with regard to raising the manholes, you're not gonna raise them in-house, right? You're gonna contract that, because it's 100 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would suggest to the board that they at least look at the proposals and start moving on some of these.
Yeah, those are
This
projects that
is
can
this is
definitely.
sitting too long.
If it's
It's
not,
becoming to be a
if it's
crash
not
too.
part of the grand plan, then these are additional projects that we can probably kick off.
Well, if you're not gonna get the funding for them anyway, and they need to be done.
That's right.
Start doing them.
And down the line, we can juggle the monies between what we have already as set aside as construction money and the trust loan money, so to work it all out.
Good. So I'll do the proposals for the other two pump stations and raising the manholes. Raising the manhole one should be relatively quick if we've got an inventory on those.
Yeah, we can put some of that together.
And the board could also revisit its unfunded retirement benefits obligations soon.
Well, let's see when you finish the audit and we get the new calculation this year on that. When we present the audit, you can make a decision.
That's what, the end of June, July?
Probably beginning of June.
Okay, fine.
But the only thing really left is this calculation of unfunded retirement benefits. And Deidre's starting to load the program up. Every 2 years you gotta load it from scratch. And this is the year we have to do
Say
it.
that again?
You have to load it from scratch every 2 years.
What program?
We purchase a program, an actuarial program, to do the calculation.
Oh, it's new every 2 years?
Every 2 years, we have to buy the program and load it up with all the data, the
Oh, okay.
employees and all the benefit plans. The second year, they do a cost of living adjustment factor.
But don't you have the data already loaded? I mean, you have to load it from scratch again?
Well, I think she can carry some of the data over. but
That's what I'm
she's
saying,
got
it's already
to,
there.
She's got to put all the new all the benefit plan costs. and things.
Oh, okay. Modify,
And there's-
bring it
and there's
up, bring it
three
up to
different-
date, in other words.
Yeah, there's 3 different plans that these people can choose
Okay,
from.
okay.
Okay, the budget analysis is next, and basically the bottom line is, we're into about 9% of the budget so far. Let's see, the staff engineers report.
This month, made some progress with FEMA, the remaining infrastructure grant application, so that covers the collection system improvements, so the Emery Drive pump station. Well, that was submitted back in February, this past month, of raising the manholes, the flood barriers from the police pump station, and the conversion of the propane generators out in the piping system to natural gas.
Let's go back to number one,
Yep.
clarification. Okay, they delayed the deadline for the third time.
Now it's at fourth.
and fourth time, and fifth time, and sixth time. Does that mean that they still gonna collect all the applications, and eventually, when they get enough, they're gonna cut it off and then start, or they're starting the process of them already?
Well, as of Thursday, like I said, we received comments on the Emery Drive, so it seems like they're fine, and they're moving comments and moving the process along. If you talked to me before Thursday, I would have
You
told
would,
you there's no
agree with
hope of them moving until after.
No vote for them, I like that, those words.
There's, yeah, so,
So this
they're
is,
following it.
this is, and as you give the comments back, I assume there'll be more comments, more requests coming.
Maybe.
They're
They
both
can
surprises.
be, it just can go on for a ring around rosy.
Yeah.
And then when they're finished, with our application, put the check mark in the right box. Does that mean they move it over to FEMA, or it sits there until everybody else gets there and you all go together?
As far as I know, they will forward it to FEMA as they see. that
Okay, we're on the
application's
front end
ready.
of this.
Yeah.
We keep the ball rolling.
Yep.
Okay, go to it.
Take the guy to
So
dinner.
could you imagine if you were a homeowner
Take it to
doing this?
dinner.
Well, they're already shooting themselves, you know.
Living in a tent?
It's ludicrous what's going on.
There's also the energy allocation grant, and that's the new generator here for the plant. We have to go in with the township on that, and the township is still preparing their documents.
That's the 159?
Yes. Like we mentioned before, we received $149 and change from FEMA.
You left the 9.00 out.
I think it was 33 cents.
33 cents?
Yeah.
That makes all the difference, they gotta redo it.
We can do that extra pump station.
Half a cup of
Don't
coffee.
screw them up.
Yeah,
We need another
it has a lot of humor.
There was a significant amount of expenses that were submitted to the state and FEMA that were rejected because of a flood insurance reduction. There was a flood insurance on it. We had a meeting with the state to discuss the chances of, we've appealed it, of pursuing an appeal with FEMA and reducing the amount of ineligible funds, and we're working with the state. And that's a significant amount of money, I think it's up to $100,000 to $200,000. We filed time extension requests for 3 FEMA project worksheets, and that's just to fit with the EIT project schedules and just getting together the paperwork that FEMA requires. We reviewed the plans and specifications for the NJET projects with Mazer, and we're working with them to fine tune those. Also part of that was the electrical improvements for the raw sludge building. The electrical engineer sub-consultant was here for a day reviewing the system. The flood barrier manufacturer's representative was here, reviewed all the installation locations, so that he's ready for when that project goes out to bid. Oswald's, as of right now, is complete with the collection system work, but they'll have to clean out one of the wet wells at the Fairview pump station. The diesel vehicle emissions retrofit program is by DEP to try and reduce the diesel emissions from the vehicles.
Yeah.
So we're working through that process. Hopefully, everything will be done, and we don't have to go through the hassle of sending the vehicles out to the retrofit. Updated the vehicle maintenance program for the new vehicles. Highlands and Atlantic Highlands flows are included in the 2 charts, and we'll make it a fixture of each monthly report. And then, like Ray mentioned earlier, the phone upgrade project continues to progress. We have 3 proposals in now, waiting on one other one, and then hopefully make a recommendation at the next meeting. The ADP upgrades that for payroll, there's training ongoing now. We'll get some new hardware sometime this week, and hopefully next week we'll be complete with the upgrades. And the document scanning, we've got 2 proposals, and I'm waiting for a 3rd one. Put that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good report, thank you.
Okay, next is George's report.
Come on, George.
Well, basically, there were no issues, significant
You
issues.
said that last month.
Thank God. I hope next month is the same.
Let's start a hurricane for you, or an earthquake.
Yo, relax.
Don't mention earthquakes.
Let's make it an inland hurricane.
A tornado, you mean?
So unless there's any questions.
Let's start it
Good
at Swim
month.
River or Warwick.
Thank you.
Okay, next is public comments.
Anyone from the public wishing to speak? No. Seeing no one from the public?
Whereas it is necessary for the board to
Oh,
enter
whoa, whoa,
into...
whoa, 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 whoa. I have an item, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
As you all know, Middletown, our wonderful town, is celebrating its 350th anniversary this year. And in regard to that, the township is doing some really nice things. They're having a dinner, they're having a parade, an open house at the Arts Center. And several of the different organizations in town and some businesses are going to participate in the parade. The fire companies are participating, and I'm wondering what everyone on the sewer authority thinks if we should participate by having a truck. And if anyone here or anyone in the plant would like to march in the parade, whatever's everyone's opinion. So,
Behind the truck?
I'm sorry?
Behind the truck, behind the sewer.
Behind the back truck. And the backhoes will be pulling you along.
What's the back?
Well, our executive director would recommend which truck, and then anyone who would like to participate. So, does anyone
Put a
feel?
for sale sign on it, something that way.
Yeah.
No, this is a truck we need.
Best offer.
This is a truck we need. So I would just like to get everyone's opinion on whether or not they would like to do this. Any opinions, anyone?
What's the date?
It's an idea.
June 20th. June 20th and 21st
21st.
are the 2 days. I think the 21st is the parade. So, does anyone have any ideas?
Anybody
Do you
will
have an
walk
idea?
behind a truck?
So can we have all our employees?
I think Tulsa has to make a
They
show.
want.
You have to, I think
Well,
You
they
need
would
a-
have to.
You need a vehicle and a, that says,
And a driver.
you know.
And a driver.
Float.
You want a float?
That'd be good.
I don't know if we're gonna have a float, but.
One from Animal House.
Exactly.
That's what you
They're
think.
gonna hand out samples.
So it seems like.
Before and after samples.
Born to flush.
So it seems like everyone is in favor of doing this. Ray, I guess it's up to you to check out and see if we have a truck available and if someone would like to drive the truck. Okay.
No, somebody tried, it's gonna be a voluntary thing?
Well, that's what we were saying today. You know, basically, I can do an announcement to the employees and see who might be interested in that.
Participating on a voluntary basis.
Voluntary basis.
Yeah,
I think it would be
yeah,
great for them,
yeah,
great for, you know, the township. I love a parade. I
yeah.
don't know about the rest of you, but we're our little Township shirts or whatever. So you can get back to us, please, next month? Okay. Thank you. So George, you want to walk in this, right?
Perhaps.
For your family.
There's going to be all kinds of activities after the parade.
Yeah, we should try and make a showing.
we
You
should.
know?
I would think so. As far as I know, a bunch of departments are.
It would be, we really should get into it, you know.
It's gonna be from the high school to
High school or.
The Arts Center,
anyone,
right?
yes, anyone who is from the township gets to march for free. If it's a business, I think there's a nominal fee for them to be in the parade.
$250.
So, nominal, so, but for us, it's free. So I'm just thinking this would be a fun thing to do. It's kind of like Middletown Day, you
It's a
know?
way to tell us, say, people that we exist.
Well,
And this
no.
is what we do.
Silent service, flush and forget.
Let's hope it always stays that way.
Guaranteed flush all the time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Whereas it is necessary for the board to enter into a non-public meeting pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to discuss items of contract negotiation pursuant to subsection 7, specifically TOMSA to Borough of Atlantic Highlands and the Borough of Highlands. Now therefore be resolved that the board enter into executive session.
Thank you. I would ask that the public please be excused, thank you.
5 minute break.
Madam Chair, you have two.
And everyone needs a break, take a break.